We respectfully request the Sangha great virtues for the sake of this assembly and all living beings. Please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach and guide us how to end birth and death, leave suffering and attain bliss, and quickly realize non-birth. Cung tín đại đức tăng thịnh, vì thứ pháp hội cấp nhớ thiết chúng sanh. Tịnh diễn diệu pháp luân giao đạo hạ môn, như há liêu sanh thoát từ ly khổ đà la, tất chứng vô sanh. Homage of the Blessed, Noble, and Perfectly Enlightened One. Namo Sadanto Suchedo Ye Lahudi San Miao San Puto Xie. Namo Ta 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 To Ya Da Ya La De Tam Miao Tam Bo Da Toa. The unsurpassed, profound, subtle, and wonderful Dharma in 100,000 million aeons is difficult to encounter. Now that I'm able to see and hear, I will receive and maintain it. I vow to fathom the thus come one true and actual principles. Wu shang sheng sheng wei miao fa bai jian wan jian nan zao yu wo jin jie wen de shou qi yuan jie ru lai zhen shi yi. O Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, Great Master Jing Liang, Great Master YongHua, all good monks and nuns, and all good advisors of Emitofuo. 诸佛菩萨、精良大士、师父上人、各位出家人、各位善知识，弥陀佛。Chư Phật Bồ Tát kính thưa Hòa thượng Thanh Lương, Hòa thượng Thiện Hoa, quý thầy cô và các vị thiện tri thức ca Di Đà Phật. Hello everyone. Today is the 6th of January 2023. It's our first lecture on the prologue of the new year 2023. So thank you all for coming. We appreciate it. I personally appreciate a chance to speak this Dharma to you because I'm learning a lot too, going through this myself. It's very profound. And we actually nearing the end of our year-end cheese. This is week number 9 for us. Okay, so try that. Xin xin. So it's almost the end of it, and we've been doing this. We've been explaining sutras on the weekends, Friday, Saturday, and Sundays. This is the 9th week now. It is actually a new tradition we started because what I learned from my teacher, Chinese teacher, the Chanti is basically chant and use focus on the instructions for Chan instead of sutra lectures. We drop everything. They drop every single thing in the temple shuts down, and if your relatives die, tough luck. We're not going to do anything about it. Okay? How would you like that? I couldn't do that. Since we started, we did the cheese, and then our disciples, relatives died, and look at them. I'm going to ignore them or what? So we still do the important things, such as taking care of your needs, if necessary, okay? Including helping rebirth for you and your relatives. And also, equally important is the explanation of sutras. These are, I feel, critical in our development. Brings to mind, I remember when a long time ago, I saw a Japanese movie. I used to be fascinated by Japanese movies for some reason. Okay. And I remember there's a very big shot Japanese general. And at the time, Japan was divided into feudal lords. That was just before the era of the shoguns, where they united the country under the emperor, and the shogun would run Japan on behalf of the emperor. So the shogun was the military governor. So because there's so many warring feudal lords, and each occupying an area, and they battle each other and cause a lot of pain and suffering to the people. So the feudal lords, they took turn in trying to unite the country under one rule. And so this feudal lord here was very, very good. He keeps on winning against his neighbors. And I remember what struck me is that as he was winning in the battlefield and killing his enemies and laying siege to the castles and his enemies and people. His soldiers were dying. His enemies' soldiers were dying. Everyone's dying around him all day. Okay. What did he do at night? At night, after ordering, the assault and killing people, at night, he opened a sutra, Buddhist sutra, and read it. That stuck in my mind. It's, hey, welcome. Glad to have you. So it stuck in my mind because I said, my God, this guy is killing people and people dying around him. There are decisions to make 24 hours a day because it's a matter of life and death. Okay? And yet, he took the time to read sutras. And for every single night, without fail, it's a time we put aside, where we read down, and he simply read the Buddhist sutras. No explanation, nothing. And to me, it stuck in my mind because, wow, why? These people are bright, they're smart, they're successful. Why are they doing that? He did that because it helped him. Agree or disagree? Huh? That's what stuck in my mind. They're smart. There's a time pressure. There's critical times, and yet he still opened the sutra every single night. Of course, he in a movie and in historical records, he never could unify Japan. He was killed by a poisonous arrow. Okay, he was so feared that they did not report his death. So his enemy in the castle we were laying siege to, they surrendered because they're so afraid of him. And then his heirs took over and so forth. So anyway, so these people, this guy was so successful, was so good at it, and yet he just read sutras. Just read quietly by himself. No monks doing ding dong dong, whatever, okay, what monks do back then. The jobs are like one sutra, one sound, one tone, you know. And so, and I realized it worked because it helped give him insights on how to solve his problems. It's a sort of meditation for him. So you read sutra, it's also a form of meditation for him. He didn't know Chan. No one trained him. No one knew much about Chan in Japan anyway, back then. And so reading sutras, paying attention to each single Chinese character, it was Chinese, in Chinese. There's a form of meditation for him. Isn't that interesting? So in a way, the message is clear. When you need to make important decisions, meditate. Okay, and it's more than that for us. We also have explained the sutras to you, so that not only are you doing Chan, we also are planting the Vajra seeds of wisdom. Because meditation alone is not enough. You need to listen to the Dharma every single day. That's what he did. Okay? And he was so feared by his enemy because if he set his sight on someone, he kills them. It's very successful. Okay? All right, any questions with the Chanchi here? We don't have a whole lot of time left, so it's a time now to rally and try your best. Yes, 4.
Master, can you help me discern this thought that I have? I sometimes would think that instead of asking for your help, I know that you are more than capable of helping me with, for instance, my anxiety problems, my depression. But sometimes I have this thought that instead of asking you for help, I should cultivate and should deal with the problem myself. That will help me grow. Is this a thought from my anxiety or depression goals to try to keep their pull their strings on me?
Yes. You have to be careful. They manipulate you in so many different ways. And that's one of the ways for you in particular. They have a grip on you. Their grips are being loosened because your spiritual practice, your Chan practice, and our help. And therefore, in your particular case, because it's kind of heavy duty, and therefore, if you, from your practice so far, you continue, it would work. But you do have the option because I'm still active. So you should ask for help. Okay, and so in your case, and for many of you, okay, I think I need to bring to your attention. I'd like to make a proposal for you that from now until the end of the Qi, work hard. And many of you have depression. And therefore, you should, it ends next week, so you should And the kids, let the kids play. If you can manage to find quiet time, go to the Chan hall there, close the doors, and the Chan hall should be a quiet area. The kids can play anywhere else. They can roam around the building except for the Chan hall, okay? And they can make noise, whatever, but in a Chan hall, they cannot make noise, okay? So that you have your quiet area. I apologize. I ignored it so far, okay? But it's a time for you to, if you wish, you can find a time, sit in that area designated as a quiet area, okay? You have enough space to be able to do that. And as long as you can during the day, here I know we have this special program here going on for you. She came here in particular to help you. But besides that, go to the Chan hall, and I will suggest you recite some mantras. Okay, and where is Yin-shun? She's sleeping? Yes? Then she's of no use. Okay, so you should be reciting mantras, and I will show you which ones to cultivate. Okay, work hard. And let's see how. This is the first time we're doing is to address that depression issues in particular, because I notice quite a few of you have this issue. So go there and if you need to keep an eye on the kids, take turn or whatever it takes. But you should make the time to do that. Okay. And in your case, personal case, we will probably not only as you meditate, you also probably upgrade your blocks so that we go a lot faster, a bit faster to deal with it. It's delicate. We don't want to overwhelm them. We don't want to. We want to be reasonable, because that's how we handle these types of issues. Okay. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, and if the old monk doesn't fall asleep, he should be sitting with you and reciting the same mantras with you, which would help. And if the lady there, the nun there, as long as she's still up here, you should be sitting there and reciting mantras as well. All right? That's see. Because I want to see, because I be here, so I want to see what kind of effects it has on you daily. Okay? If you wish. All right, any other questions? So I need you, all of you, not to fall asleep and work hard. Okay, especially you monks. This is a time where you need to stay awake to help others. Yes, 6.
A Di Đà Phật thầy, dạ thưa thầy, con có depressed không?
Yes, you are.
How can con tell?
Why do you have to tell?
And I mean, when con depressed or when con not?
You just know you have depression and you have to deal with it. You cannot ignore it.
Yeah.
You owe them. So you have to deal with it. You're not just depressed, you're bipolar. Yes. Three.
A lot of people following the Chanchi remotely also having severe depressions. How can we help them?
I'm more concerned about you. I'm more concerned about what we can do for you right now. I need to find out first. I need to know that my people will not fall asleep and will help you. And see if they're capable of doing that. If you bring yourself to the temple, we do that for you. We try to stay awake and recite with you, because that's how you can ride on our power. It will be speeded up for you. Because what we're doing is when we recite these mantras, we're beating up on them 24 hours a day. To show who's the boss here in the temple. How dare you? You come to my temple, you all come to our temples, and they come with you, but there's a time where they better know where they are. This is my territory. This is my domain. This is my Chanchi time. I don't bother. I will let my disciples deal with them. That's all. Okay? We're being reasonable. Yes, YouTube.
Thank you, Master. First, I'd like to express my sincere gratitude for our YouTube audience. We have nearly 50 people watching across English, Vietnamese, Korean, and Chinese channels right now.
Thank you. And because of that, you on the YouTube channels, I think we should allow them to tune in. Are we capable of let them tune in into our channel here? AV people, I'm asking you, here in DTT, can we do that? Yes, 3.
Just a suggestion that I think the kids can take the Chan hall and leave the Buddha hall to the cultivators, and then online it's probably easier.
I don't know. You have to ask the kids. Hey, kids, you want the Buddha hall or the Chan hall? You got to choose. Yeah, where to play. The 2 areas we will save for you. Either the Chan hall or here. You see, the reason I chose Chan hall is this. Number 1, Chan hall is cold. Better for meditation. This is too comfortable. Okay? So that's why I think let the kids play here. There's more space for them. They can run around, climb the steps and jump. Okay? And break our microphones. Yes, 5?
I'm holding a microphone right now.
Yeah, please hold it very gently. You're of the age now, you need to learn to be more gentle, boy.
I never broke a microphone.
Thank the Lord for that. Thank you, Lord. Yes. So what's your preference? Discuss it. Do a powwow. Say, hey, let's talk about this. So anyway, we should allow people at least into temple, because sometimes some of our sangha will sleep. I can threaten them, but I cannot control their minds and their karmic obstructions or their dedication. I didn't ask them for 8 weeks, 8.5 weeks. Now I'm asking them. It's only 1 week left. Okay? Don't sleep. You have work to do. Stay awake to help others. You too.
Thank you, Master. We have a YouTube question from Way Mountain Temple Apple, or Spy number 1 as of recent. Master, do I need to ask for help for my depression also?
You are the spy number 1. Why should I help you? So that you become a better spy? When I help people, people improve. They get better at what they do. So explain to me why I should help you. What's in it for me?
That's the only hint. Golden hat.
Way Mountain.
Yes, Master, there's a couple relevant things because we still have a little work in the Buddha Hall, quite a bit of things before relics. So I think that was the other reason we moved to the Chan Hall.
Okay, so Chan Hall it is.
And as far as broadcasting from the Chan Hall, we can just set up a laptop and a webcam. That's about.
Okay, that should help a little bit. Okay, if they sleep, my son can sleep, that's not going to help. If they stay awake, it's going to help you a little bit. All right, and yes, the old abbot. 1.
5 hints. 5 hints.
Và cái chương trình mình tụng như thế nào, từ giờ nào đến giờ nào?
Is there translation?
Master, what is the program of recitation of the mantra? From what time to what time? What is the schedule?
24 hours from beginning in the morning, 3 in the morning till midnight. Non-stop. Way Mountain comment.
Master, I have a question. Is the recitation of mantra only available for the Norton, or can us, Way Mountain Temple, can participating as well?
All the way places, they can tune in to our inter-temple. Will be for every single way place we have. Different time zones, it doesn't matter. It will be our time zones here, from 3 a.m. to midnight here. And that's where we are. Okay? Try the best you can. Try your best. Yes, 5.
Are we reciting out loud, or are we reciting to ourselves, or are we reciting with a group? And which mantra do we recite?
You recite silently. It's a chant thing. You don't recite loudly. You don't hit the whitfish. Just recite silently your own. Okay. And if you need to go to if you need to go to work and you need to do things, it's okay. You're excused. Okay, if you have to work, it's perfectly okay, because that's part of the Chan program as well. You can work during the Chan thing. You see, our Chan is a much broader training than than the Chinese style. They shut down, and to me, as long as I'm here, I'm teaching you, it's better, you're better off when I guide your practice instead of using like a frog. Okay? You grind it out when I'm not around. When I'm around, you don't need to. You will grind when I tell you. Okay? That's why we are more discriminatory. We don't need to grind all the time. It's much smarter sometimes. I look at it and I say, this is much better that you do when you're told, what you're told. Way mountain.
Thank you, Master. Even though I owe my many ghosts whenever I go to temple, am I giving my ghosts a chance to go to temple and perhaps a build blessing as well?
If they cooperate, they will have blessings. If they fight us, then they don't have any blessings. It's their choice. But they're ghosts. They don't listen. What are you going to do? So that's why occasionally we have to beat them up. Kind of remind them who's the boss. We're much stronger than they are, but we're very patient because we want to settle the debts, not create more debts. That's what we're doing. All right? Anyone else? Okay, so in a town hall, in the next week or so, if possible, do not use heaters. When you do Chan, you don't want to use heaters. If you cold, wear another layer, and another one, and another one. Don't use heaters. Heaters are no good for your practice. If you're weak, you're sick or something, yeah, you can use a heater. Okay? But if you're not sick, don't use a heater. Anything else? Yes, 5.
Tomorrow, the Chinese group at 6 a.m., they want to do a long sit. Which do I just do reciting the mantra or do I sit with them? Because it might go all day tomorrow, depending on how long they sit.
If you have to work, you can work.
Okay.
We want to help them sustain the habit, the habitual practices. It's very hard to do for lay people to be able to sustain a regular practice. So that's why I insist on trying to accommodate as many of those classes as possible. Okay? It's okay. Anyone else? I can't hear you.
Chun is asking which mantra do we recite?
I don't want to say it in public because I don't want it to be abused. Because if you don't do it right, you're going to abuse it. You will get into bigger trouble than it's worth it. What we're doing here, what you're doing is assisted recitation. You're not reciting just by yourself. You're reciting with us. And therefore, would work so much better than reciting by yourself. Wei Mao.
Master, tomorrow we also have Venerable XZ mantra at 4 o'clock Eastern, our Pacific time. So between that and what we're doing here at the temple, what should we do?
Whatever you want to do. As I just said, it feels important for you to maintain your regular practice. Don't change it. All right? Anyone else? Yes, 5.
We were going to sit in the Chan hall tomorrow, but if they're reciting, where can I sit?
There's a conference room downstairs
that
you can use.
Okay.
Do they have, we'll Xianjie, we probably need to, Tuan, we need to maybe pattern spray the walls down there, and I ask for a better color scheme, brighter, more cheery, okay, for the conference room. Okay. And maybe better webcams or whatever. Okay, anyone else? We're getting there, we get there, okay? Eventually. Anyone else? Okay, then let's go to our lecture. Door number 2, prologue, text written by Master Ching Liang, slide 230. He's talking Wei Mountain.
Thank you, Master. I just had a quick question about fasting. I want to partake, but I'll still have to be working. And so would it be okay to fast but just not eating and not doing the half water cup a day?
Yeah, you do what you can. Working is not conducive to fasting. Okay? Fasting is a special Dharma we have here at the temple only. We don't support you when you're you're off campus, we cannot support you. And it's dangerous for you to be off campus when you fast. Fasting is very specialized Dharma here. That's one of our signature practices. And it's very special. It only can be practiced on site. If you go off, you go home or whatever, forget it. We're not responsible. And we don't advise you to fast if you cannot be here. Let's make it clear, okay? You're taking chances. It's not the fasting Dharma, it's not our fasting Dharma at all. You cannot go off campus. Yes, Wei Mountain.
Thank you, Master. We have a YouTube question from Cordelia Lee. Cordelia asks, reciting with Master's recording, is that getting assistance?
Yes. Okay, anyone else? Okay, I like this cool camera thing moving back and forth. Yeah, kind of cool. Huh? We getting new cameras for DTT too? Okay, so we are talking about door number 2 of this prologue prepared by Master Ching Liang. He's talking about the stores and the teaching containing it. So he's basically doing a survey, a synopsis of the dharmas contained in the Avatamsaka Sutra. And so he broke the second door and his prologue is about the sutra, the store, meaning which store does it belong to. And turns out Avatamsaka Sutra contains all the stores and all the teachings contained in it. So you see, Avatamsaka Sutra really is the universe of the Mahayana teaching as well. And that's why until Master YongHua came along, very few monks were able to lecture on it. He was the first one of recent memory. For example, his predecessor, Xu Yun, would not be qualified to lecture on the Avatamsaka Sutra. You wouldn't understand at all. So these patriarchs, his predecessors, were very, very, very honest. They don't try to impress people. And then Master YongHua decided to, as he transmitted the Chinese Mahayana to the United States, he said, this is one of the key things, the key dharmas I will transmit. And so this is a wonderful dharma that he has a very special way explaining as well. Simple words, but very meaningful, very deep, and later, since he started doing that, explaining the Avatamsaka Sutra, many of his contemporaries, also started to lecture on the Avatamsaka Sutra. And just to help you save time, ignore all those. It's all junk. It's all BS. Okay, you're better off studying Master YongHua's Avatamsaka Sutra. It's by far the best. No one. All the other guys. Jing Kung, who's dead right now, is baloney. And I don't know who else. It's all baloney. Okay. Anyway, so we don't have time. Just don't waste time. Don't plant junk in your eighth consciousness. You have to undo them later. Very much like if you learn non-Buddhist practices, you will have to spend time undoing that in the future. Okay, it's just the way it is. You learn wrong things, you have to undo it. You create bad habits, and that's what we do. We revolve this real reincarnation. We learn the wrong things, believe in the wrong things, and we have to pay for it. That's how it is. Okay. 230. Penetrating means that this can penetrate and explain the meanings in the sutras.
通者，此能通视速达览一股。
Okay, 231. So the Abhidharma has a few meanings, 4 meanings. This is another meaning that says penetrating, which means it can penetrate and explain the meaning of the sutra. So the Abhidharma of the Shastra store, that's the one that's prepared by the Bodhisattvas. Only Bodhisattvas can write Shastras and that will be included in the Abhidharma. It doesn't matter what the other houses, the other schools say, okay? Only Bodhisattvas they're the only ones who have enough wisdom to be able to write Shastras that are recognized to be worthwhile to be included in our Tripitaka. So more or less it's a review by peers. It's the other peers, the other Bodhisattvas who said, yes, we'll include that in our Tripitaka. Is that clear? So even though the Abhidharma in Hinayana text, okay, was still prepared by Bodhisattvas. Let's get this straight, okay? Abhidharma is the third store, or the Shastra store, okay? So what this Shastra does is it deliberates, discusses in greater length the concepts contained in the sutras. That's what he says here. So it penetrates the meaning of sutras. Why is penetration necessary? Because if you cannot penetrate the principles, you can never really understand Buddhism at all. All you're doing is parakeet, like a parakeet, regurgitated, pleasurized. That's all you do. You have no substance whatsoever. Your thesis, your explanation have no substance because they basically are, you're putting words together and they really, if you don't understand the substance, when you synthesize the Buddhist teachings, it's called a screw up. I'm not mincing words. All the PhD theses out there, when they try, if they don't have the Chan training, it's basically screw-ups. Throw them out. It's garbage. I'm sorry, I'm offending a lot of professors and and so forth. Okay, I'm very sorry. But truth be told, this is just my personal opinion. That's why for you, my disciples, my followers, don't bother getting a PhD in Buddhism. It's a waste of time. Okay? You will not be able to penetrate the meaning of the Tripitaka. You can't. Because to penetrate, what does penetrate mean? Penetrate requires power. Remember the old times? When you drill a hole into the wood in order to create important objects in life, in your life for you, you need to use a drill here, and you go like this, right? And that's what you did. You need to use a drill to penetrate, and you penetrate the wood by using a tool, a sharp tool, and your labor. So it takes tools and power. Special tools and power. Okay? And then you have a problem. Now, if you need to drill a hole in steel, it's much harder. Okay? So in modern times, now we have power drills. That's Chan right there. Chan is like a power drill. Okay? So you need to penetrate in order to make that piece of wood useful. As a slab of granite useful, you need to penetrate it, drill through it when necessary. You need a piece of steel to be useful. You need to drill a hole in a piece of steel. Okay, so penetration is necessary to maximize the use of the object. Here is the sutras. And that's why, remember I told you the story about that Japanese general, feudal lord, who's very feared, who simply read sutras. Even though he did not penetrate it, okay, it's extremely useful to him. That it made him, I would tell you that my interpretation, enabled him to relax and have insights on how to kill more of his enemies the next day. I'm sorry, that's how he used the Buddhist sutras. Okay? All right. So to penetrate, you need to go inside. Unless you go inside, okay, you cannot. As I said, you cannot fully utilize it. And moreover, unless you go inside, you will never be able to observe what's inside. Okay, I remember when I first became a novice, and my master immediately died a few months later. Okay, and so I being Vietnamese, I was introduced to these Vietnamese disciples of his. There was one lady in her 70s. She's 73, and her husband was 74. And she took me into her wings. Even though I was a novice, she was a lay person. And she frequented Berkeley with that disciple monk of Master YongHua. And took me into her wings and said, I was one of the earliest Vietnamese disciples of Master YongHua. I recognized him. I was one of the first ones to recognize him and follow him. Took refuge with him. She has a game warnings in my generation. Our generation is Wu. So she's proud and said, I have seniority over you. Yes, something like that. And she said, she recounted so many interesting stories about her relationship with Master YongHua and so forth. And took a liking to me, so for some reason, and then so she kept on calling me at Berkeley Monastery, which I used to go every other weekend to help out. Okay. My late father was there as well, so I just drove him. So she kept on calling me and talking to me and telling me stories, telling me this, telling me that, giving me advices after advices and so forth. I said, I can't talk to you alone on the phone. Okay, the Berkeley monk, the abbot here, will scold me. We're not allowed to talk to the opposite sex alone. Communicate with opposite sex alone without witness. And he says, oh, don't worry, he'll make an exception for me. So we kept on talking, and she told me an anecdote. She says, very proudly, when she was seeing me, she saw me face to face. She said, at one time, we were sitting in a van. Master YongHua was sitting next to me. You know what he did? He put his legs on top of mine. And she's very proud of it. Okay? Yeah. And it bothered me so much. I didn't know anything. I didn't know about the lifestyle, what Master YongHua did. It bothered me. So why would he put his leg on her legs? From a worldly perspective, it's called making a pass. Malcolm, agree or not? Yeah, from a person of power, position of power, you say, hey. It bothered me. But anyway, so that's the beginning of, for me, disengaging from her. Because even if it's such a case, you shut up. You don't tell people about it. If you think it's a past, you don't brag about it, you woman. Okay, and she came to mind tonight because she's the one who's been around for 30 years around Master YongHua, and she just observing everything from outside of the fence. She has no idea what's going on inside, so never penetrated the Dharma at all. And you know what's the problem with that? That's the problem right there. Causing problems with other people, making claims that they're not true. And guess what? After she died, years ago I heard she died, so I looked and said, wow, she fell. Being a very senior, a long-time disciple of Master YongHua, she went into the animal realm. She still is today. So that's what happens. when you learn something, you want to have the ability to go inside and observe. That's how you see how things really work. Okay? And that's what Master YongHua gave me that chance to go inside. He knew full well I would not stick around. He taught me basically enough for me to go off on my own. Later I understood that. But I was able to get inside so that I can observe how he trained his disciples. And I'm gonna implement more and more of his things, his rules. Okay? So penetrate is very important. You have to go beyond the facade. You have to go beyond the words. Okay? You go inside, you get into the substance of things, inner workings. Okay? You have to drill through in order to penetrate. Okay? So that's why the Bodhisattvas, they wrote the Abhidharmas and the Shastras, because they said, I drill inside, and this is what I saw. This is why the Buddha taught such principles in the sutras. Is it clear? So it's really a gift from the Bodhisattvas, those Shastras. They should be treasured. (232). It is also called Upadesha, which means discourse. It is also called Matrika, which means basic mother. That is because it acts as the basis and mother for the teachings and the meanings.
一名优婆提舍，此云论义；一名摩达里伽，此云本母。谓以教语义为本为母。
All right. 233, commentary. Abhidharma is also called, or the Shastra store is also called, has another name. It's called Upadesha, which is discourse. It's a discourse from the people who have wisdom. And therefore, they offer us their insights. The inside views of the inner workings of the sutras. Okay, that's why they're very, very useful. Okay, they're discourse from people in the know. It also called Matrika, which means basic mother. I don't like basic, but anyway, that's go along and see what happens. That is because it acts as a basis and a mother for the teachings and the meanings. Okay. So the basis here is a foundation, or the important base for our studies, our evolution, our improvements, our enlightenment. So that's very important. And mother here refers to the source, the origin of life. Mother gives life, gives birth. In particular here, it gives birth to the teachings and the meanings. So that's why the Abhidharma is very, very important. 234. It also means that by relying on this store, one gives rise to understanding. And so this store is a mother of understanding. Basic just means mother.
意云依藏生解，藏为解母，本即是母。
Okay. 235. The Abhidharma will give rise to understanding. It is true Abhidharma, all these shastras, they give you insights into the behind the scenes of the sutras. For a concept, the Buddha talks about, for example, of consciousness. Okay, your alaya consciousness. The Abhidharma have a bunch of sutras, shastras, excuse me, to elaborate more on the concept of consciousness. And because of that, you have a deeper understanding, appreciation of the concept of consciousness. Okay, that's why the Abhidharma actually I found it very useful. And that's what happened to me personally when I heard about the consciousness concept. I couldn't understand what it meant. And in the consciousness school, written by, who has a bunch of shastras written, they're referenced here in this text. They help me understand more about the various concepts of consciousness, the various types of consciousnesses that the Buddha was teaching. Wei Mountain. It's called special effect, boy. Obstructions. Yes, we fixed it. Okay.
Hello, Wei Mountain Temple. Can you try again?
Master, I just want to ask if we can change the word basic to fundamental, because in normal English conversation, there's a verse you say, you're so basic, or the other person is so basic. It's carry a different connotation.
Yeah, that's my first reaction too. Basic is sort of banal, derogatory, somewhat. Fundamental is much better. But it's okay, it's just a minor thing. It's not going to affect our understanding. It's not a big deal. I'm tired of having to, fix the minor things. So I ignore it. Tonight I decided to ignore it because I don't have much more to add. To take up your time to write up and change the fundamental, it's not going to add much more. So that's why I decided not to do it. Okay? I don't have much more to elaborate on. The more interesting concept to me is mother. Mother is a source, and it's very important. And so that Shastra store is pretty important when you think about it. That's why I'm brewing on that. I'm not worried about basic. If you understand basics, fundamentals, foundation, so forth, I'm still brewing on. I'm still meditating on the concept of mother, the mother of the understanding. That's all. 236. When another transliteration of matrika is used, it means mother practice. For relying on this store, practice is accomplished, and so it is the mother of practice.
一名摩夷，此云行母，依藏成行故， 行之母之故。
Okay, 237 commentary. So another way to explain matrika is mother of practice. So the emphasis here is the source. It gives rise to practice. And that's interesting to me, that Shastras is not only designed by the Bodhisattvas to clarify the Buddhist teaching, but also is their intention in writing Shastra is to give rise to practice, meaning that it helps us practice better or motivates us to practice. That is interesting concept. Okay, so that is to say that Shastras or Abhidharmas are not simply for intellectual pursuits or debates or just simply knowledge, but it's also that, and that knowledge will compel you to practice, will help your practice, and will encourage you to engage in a practice if you really understand the Abhidharma. So that's how you can gauge who really understands or not. If they say, I am a specialist in I only study, and it says many monks like that I met in the Taiwanese monks and Vietnamese monks, I only specialize in Abhidharma. I don't do sutras, I don't do Vinaya, that's too low level. Abhidharma is much more advanced. Okay? And that's why they made a name, how they made a name for themselves. Most of the monks who made their names by practicing meditation, they have a little bit of kung fu, like the Taiwanese monks, they get to first stage Arhat, and meaning that they are much better than most ordinary people. And so they use that power, that strength to impress their disciples. Because every time their disciples met with them, they realized, he's much stronger than I am. He's much more forceful. And when he makes his point, I have no defense against it. And that's why they're so impressed. Okay? But that's what a lot of monks end up doing, and nuns end up doing. But there are other monks who also specialize in study Shastras, because they said, Shastras, I met, for example, a Vietnamese monk who says, I only study consciousness school Shastras. I study the unconditioned. And most people kind of back off and say, if you dare study unconditioned, I cannot talk to you, because it's like in Buddhism, it's equivalent to trying to talk to psychologists. You know what I mean? You remember that when you meet a psychologist and when she says, I'm a psychologist, so whatever I say, you're going to analyze me to death? Okay? So it's the same thing. So in Buddhism, so these people said, I study only Shastras and the unconditioned and so forth. What they don't realize is that for us professionals, right here, if you understand the Shastra, how come your samadhi level is so low? You didn't practice it all? You understand? Buddhism is not about knowledge. It's about how deeply you understand the knowledge. This is what's so wrong nowadays about the people who study Buddhism. the so-called experts in Buddhism. They don't have the depth. Yes, Way Mountain.
Master, the last time you told me I had to stop analyzing my cultivation. I don't know if you remember that.
No.
It was a couple weeks ago.
No.
I asked a question on YouTube.
No.
I'm Al D on YouTube. That's my name on YouTube.
Okay. No. Well, you asked me, do I remember? I don't. I'm too old to remember things that happened 2 weeks ago.
You told me that, and it really helped me in my life.
Okay, that's good. Now I remember. Yeah?
Yeah, I was reading a lot of sutra, and contemplating a lot. And when you told me I could just stop, it kind of just started to click a little more. Yeah, it really helped. Thank you for that. And I think
it's your family. Your mom is a lawyer, your dad's a lawyer. They analyze constantly. And as you live in that kind of environment, your family are analysts. They analyze everything, okay? They tear up everything.
Yeah, I know.
That's how you condition. And that's a problem with excessive analysis is paralysis. Excessive analysis is paralysis. That's why what happened to you? You try to analyze everything, therefore you are not executing the instructions. Very simple. Sit for 3 hours.
Yeah.
4, 5. Okay? Don't need to analyze. Okay, because you need to sit, you need to follow the instructions, because the instructions are designed to help you rise above your thinking mind. If you analyze, you depend on your mind to analyze and to function. You're limiting yourself. That's what ordinary people don't realize. It's important to use both your analytical mind and your wisdom. You need it both. That's how we are wired, folks. That's when you learn Chan, you learn to use both eventually. Okay? So what you condition in your family background, is that you analyze, you want to understand. You need to make sure you understand first before you dive head first into it, which makes sense. However, if you can't continually do that, when it comes down to try to open your wisdom, that's when it will not work for you. Because it's not something you can understand. Wisdom can only unfold after you let go of your total dependence on your thinking mind. And that's why when you sit longer, you undergo the practice, the training, you naturally will reach those levels as you improve. You are less dependent on your thinking mind, and then you find out how much more productive you are, how much better you are at work. Because you need a break, you need the mind, you need to use the thinking mind in combination, in conjunction with your wisdom. That's how you free yourself from mediocrity, the limitation of your thinking mind. Your thinking mind is linear. cannot understand dimensions. You cannot process multi-dimensions. Okay. (238) Furthermore, these three stores in general have two doors according to what they explain.
然此三藏约其所权，略有二门。
Okay, so 239, these three stores refer to the Sutra store, Vinaya store, and Shastra store, the Tripitaka, you will. Okay, have two doors in general. 240. The first is in terms of the exclusiveness of their natures. For sutras, explain the three studies. Vinaya, only the two studies of precepts and the mind. And Shastras, only the study of wisdom, as is discussed in a Samparigraha Shastra.
依者克性，则经权三学，律为戒心二学，沦为慧学，如社论说。
Okay, 241 commentary. The first aspect is in terms of the exclusiveness of the natures. So this is, you see, we are being presented the deep aspects of the Tripitaka, the Buddha's wisdom. Okay, we have a first basket, which is the sutra basket. The sutra basket will help us. The three will cover all the sutras relate to the three studies of precepts or morality, samadhi or concentration, and wisdom, meaning transcendental wisdom. Okay, this refers to how you improve those three important aspects of your Buddha nature. Okay, so that's why most monks and nuns, if they really are serious about their careers, they need to learn to explain sutras. If not serious, I don't care what they do. Vinaya is only the two studies of precepts and the mind. Vinaya only specializes in two precepts, meaning that the rules and regulations, those are incredibly insightful to me. They're beautiful because what happened is that the way the Buddha created precepts is that he waited for his disciples to break them. Then he said, oh, don't do that. Are you sure you want to do that? Really, I did a boo-boo? Yeah, you did. Here's what happened. So, for example, one of the precepts is that, remember the Buddha is in India. So one of the precepts as a bhikshu is that here's what happened, is how it arose. One of his Buddha's disciples was an arhat, and he left the temple at night, and he walked to a household, a lay person's household. And he knocked on the door, front door, politely, and knock, 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 knock. And a lady appeared. And the lady was pregnant. Okay? And she opened the door. And back then there's no street lamps, it's nothing, just moonlight. Okay? She took a look at the Buddha's disciples, the fourth sage arhat. She saw a black thing, black-faced thing. And she thought it was a ghost or something, a demon or something. She was so frightened, she had a miscarriage. Right there. She was so scared. So his Arhat disciple killed the baby. So he ran right back and cried, and Buddha, I messed up again. And Buddha said, okay, I forgive you because I haven't taught you yet. So from now on, monks are not allowed to leave the temple after noon. Except for if you go to a pizzeria. Agree? Okay? So that's how the precepts were created, because we screwed up, And to me, it's such a lovely. They have so many stories like that, and to me, it's so lovely, because I realized that even disciples of the Buddha, no matter how serious they were breaking precepts. They have wisdom, and yet they were breaking precepts. The Buddha said, no, you don't want to do that again, ever. Okay? So that's the nature of the precept. It tells you, what you can do so that you don't hurt yourself and hurt others, number one. And number two is that, you see, our nature is that we make mistakes. And that's why it's not only about precepts, you also are taught in the Vinaya how to repent. Okay, so Buddha is very compassionate. He doesn't simply give us bad news. And this is where people of the world are so inferior. In a sense, as soon as they hear, oh my God, why can't I drink? And they say, no, you're too extreme. And they discard you. Or like I remember recently, not even about precepts, some guy heard on a Dharma glimpse we have teaching, chant teachings that enduring suffering and suffering or something like that. And he was so offended by that. Are you some sort of cult? And that's what happens. Unless you have the blessings, all these will fall on deaf ears. And if you really have blessings, let me tell you, you will love precepts. You will not be afraid of precepts. We will appreciate precepts. You find that precepts are precious, and a wonderful gift. And furthermore, as with people like Mary Jo and so forth, precepts also points out the nature of our minds. I love precepts. I love reading precepts because they're so insightful about how I think. What are my tendencies and your tendencies? So I read precepts, studied precepts a little bit, very shallowly. And I spent 6 months studying precepts. I read some of them, and when I look at you and why you're breaking precepts, I say, oh wow, that's why. It's so insightful. It's so beautiful. And I encourage, for example, people who are in the mind studies, like psychologists, philosophies, and so forth, should study precepts. If they want to study the mind, instead of reading only, do the MRI scans of the mind, see which one, which activities there are, and so forth. That's not enough information for you. Insights are in the precepts, Vinaya studies. Okay? That's our Buddhist contribution. Those are the tips for the scholars to make advancements in their field of the studies of the mind. And furthermore, Vinaya is not simply the mind, but the mind. What the Buddhist disciples don't realize is that the study of the precepts also will help them develop their samadhi powers. That's a secret. And that's why these precept masters, Vinaya masters, when I heard, for example, of the Tao Xuan and those people who are claimed to be fourth stage Arhat and who specialize in, they call themselves Vinaya masters, I said, well, then you don't understand Vinaya yet. Because you really understand Vinaya, you should be enlightened. See? It's very, very fascinating. And finally, Shastras only specialize in wisdom alone. Transcendental wisdom, Varsha wisdom. Okay. All right. Not just wisdom alone, because again, Shastras are insights of enlightened people, of what the Buddha really meant. Very insightful. I think our time is up. We are supposed to stick to an hour and a half so that we can give you a chance to get ready. You can get started tonight by starting. Get going. Okay? I will go offline and will tell you and relate to our temples, the mantras I want you to recite. Okay? Just for the next week or so. Thank you, everyone. Good night. So relate this